I'm going to share with you something very few people will ever realize. The proof of it is in the view counts. If you check it out, you'll realize that this video has very few views. Most people don't realize this, but very early in life, the script is placed into your hands. It doesn't arrive as a rule book, and nobody explicitly tells you that you're supposed to follow it. It's just there, quietly handed out by your parents, reinforced by your friends, and later polished by society at large, until one day it feels so normal that you stop questioning altogether. And the strange part is that this script feels like freedom. You're asked questions like, which school would you like to go to? Which university do you prefer? What kind of job do you like? And because you're allowed to choose between options, you assume those choices are real. But they are not. They are just variations of the same path, small adjustments inside very strict boundaries. Go to school, go to university, get a job, get promoted every few years, get married, get a mortgage, buy a house, have kids, and your kids will just repeat the flow. But somewhere in the background of all of this, there is a quiet mental bucket where you place a few things you really want to do. I want you to pause this video for a second and really think about those things. Maybe you want to climb mountains, take a trip around the world, skydive, swim in the dolphins, etc. But unfortunately, that day almost never comes unless something forces it to. I know this because I lived inside that script for a long time, and the moments that genuinely changed my life were the ones that I was almost forced to go against it. The first time that happened was during the pandemic. At that point, even the basic things were impossible to get. The world was closing down, options disappeared, and I had reached a point where I felt like I was at the end of my rope. Interestingly enough, for the first time in my life, I felt a weird sense of freedom. If I follow the script and it failed me, that also means I don't have to follow the script anymore. So I did something I would never thought possible, but if the world is coming to an end, what the hell, right? I flew out of London and ended up in Mauritius near the ocean, telling myself that if everything was falling apart anyway, I might as well experience a little freedom before it was all over. A single decision revealed something I haven't seen before, a whole spectrum of possibilities that had always existed, but they were invisible to me as long as I stayed inside the script. I met people who were living differently, not because they were special, but because they had stepped off the default path as well. The second time I broke the script was even more irrational. One day, with no background, no experience, no social reference points, I decided to go and try skydiving. No tandem, I was about to do solo jump, and I didn't know even a single person who did it. Everyone thought I was reckless, and honestly, they weren't wrong. But there was something liberating about being in that position, the outsider, that unreasonable one, the person who wasn't playing by familiar rules anymore. It was difficult, it was really uncomfortable. I was on a podcast recently and the interviewer asked me if I ever wanted to quit, and my answer was about 100 times a day. But he also connected me with an entire new world of people, places, and opportunities that simply wouldn't have had existed if I had stayed where I was supposed to be. That experience eventually led me to Portugal, not because I had planned to, but because breaking the scripts once made it easier to break it again. One deviation created another. One unreasonable decision unlocked the next. I left my job and I moved countries. I started building something on my own. And looking back now, what stands out isn't bravery or confidence, it's how ordinary each step feels once I was already outside the script. It's pretty much like swimming. If you're a good swimmer, water seems like the most fun environment you can be in. But if you can't swim, it's by far the most terrifying. For you, it's certain death. Most people aren't afraid of hard things. They are afraid of things they are not familiar with. I'm not here to lecture you. I'm merely a person in love with life. I had my share of challenges, and the one coming ahead are perhaps even greater. I would love to hear one thing is on your bucket list under the someday category. Maybe we can do it together. You never know. I'll see you in the comments.